Right now, there are Australian cars selling for less than the value of the engine sitting under the bonnet. Not the other way around. The engine, the thing you can unbolt and remove, is worth more than the entire car it's powering. And here's what makes this so remarkable: the market has completely missed it. While everyone's been obsessing over resale values and depreciation curves, a handful of Australian delivered engines have been quietly building a reputation that borders on mythological. 1 million kilometres. No rebuild. Original internals, just oil changes and a service book thicker than a novel. These are the 8 you should never sell. Number 8, the Isuzu D-Max with the 4JJ1 3-litre turbo diesel. Here's the thing about Isuzu. They did not start building utes and then figure out how to make a diesel engine. They started building diesel engines for trucks, commercial trucks, the kind that do 800,000 kilometres before anyone even thinks about opening the block, and then one day someone decided to put one in a ute. The 4JJ1 is a cast iron 4-cylinder that was never designed for performance. It was designed to run. At 3,000 RPM on the highway, it is barely working. The red line starts where most petrol engines are still waking up. And that understressed architecture is the entire secret. An engine that is never pushed hard is an engine that does not wear. Here is what the data tells us. With basic maintenance, and I mean basic, oil and filters on schedule, the 4JJ1 routinely reaches between 300,000 and 500,000 kilometres without major intervention. There are examples in the mining sector and the outback that have crossed 700,000. These are not pampered vehicles. They have been flogged on corrugated roads, loaded to GVM, idled for hours in 45-degree heat, and they keep running. The earlier 2008 to 2012 models, pre-DPF, are the ones the mechanics quietly chase. Fewer emission systems, less complexity, same iron block. If you own a clean pre-DPF D-Max with service history, do not sell it. The market has not yet priced in what that engine is actually worth, and here is the detail that tells you everything. The 4JJ1 shares its basic architecture with Isuzu's commercial truck engines, the same family that powers the NPR and NQR cabover trucks delivering freight across this country. You are essentially driving a detuned truck engine in a dual cab ute. That is not a criticism. That is the reason it will outlive you. Number 7, the Mitsubishi Pajero with the 4M41 3.2-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel. If you want to understand why the 4M41 deserves to be on this list, ignore everything Mitsubishi ever said in a brochure and look at what the owners actually report. The South African overlanding community, and those people do not mess around, they cross the Kalahari with their families in these vehicles, has documented 4M41s past 400,000 kilometres on original internals. In Australia, the Pajero forums are full of owners reporting 350,000 ons and asking whether it is finally time for a rebuild, only to be told by mechanics that the engine is just getting comfortable. The 4M41 is not flashy. It does not make big power. It makes 125 kilowatts in the early models and about 147 in the later common rail versions, which in 2026 is less than a base model Corolla hybrid. But nobody buys a Pajero for the drag strip. They buy it because it will cross the Simpson Desert, drop the kids at school on Tuesday, and do it again for 20 years without a single unscheduled engine-out repair. The weak point on the 4M41 is not the bottom end. That is near indestructible if oil changes are done. It is the cooling system. The factory temperature gauge is famously optimistic. Overheat a 4M41 once, seriously, and you can crack the head. That is the kill switch. Stay on top of the radiator and the water pump, and the engine underneath will run until the body rusts off the chassis. The Gen 4 Pajero, particularly from 2006 to 2015, paired the 4M41 with a 5-speed automatic that is equally robust. These are the ones to hold. They are already climbing in value in the enthusiast market, but they have not hit the point of no return yet. If you own one, park it. Maintain it. Do not sell it. What you have under the bonnet is a diesel engine from an era before everything got strangled by emissions compliance, and we are never going back to that. Number 6. The Toyota Aurion with the 2GR FE 3.5-litre V6. Now, I know what you're thinking. An Aurion? The car your uncle bought because he could not afford a Commodore? Yes, that Aurion. And here is what makes this so remarkable. The 2GR FE is a naturally aspirated, chain-driven, port-injected 3.5-litre V6 that Toyota put into everything. The Aurion, the Kluger, the Tarago, the RAV4, The Lexus RX 350. Chain driven means no timing belt replacement every 100,000 kilometres. Port injected means no carbon buildup on the intake valves, which is the thing that kills modern direct injection engines after about 150,000 kilometres. Toyota built the 2GRFE before direct injection became mandatory, and that decision, whether it was luck or engineering conservatism, has aged brilliantly. The documented longevity on the 2GRFE is around 300,000 kilometres before anything major needs attention, and that is the conservative number. There are Aurions on Australian roads with 400,000, and they are not blowing smoke. They are not burning oil in meaningful quantities. The oil analysis results from high kilometre examples show bearing wear metals that are barely above new engine baselines. The car itself, the Aurion, is where the market gets confused. It is front-wheel drive. It is a Camry with a bigger engine. Nobody's nostalgic about an Aurion, so they are cheap. A clean, low-kilometre 2012 Aurion Sportivo costs less than a single year's depreciation on a new Chinese SUV, and yet the engine in that $12,000 car is mechanically identical to the one in a Lexus RX 350 that cost $85,000 new. The 2GRFE will not make you rich, but it will start every morning. It will pull hard to redline without complaint. It will run on 91 octane and return highway fuel economy in the sevens. And in an era where new cars are shipping with wet belt engines that require the entire front of the vehicle to be dismantled at 100,000 kilometres, a chain-driven, port-injected Toyota V6 is not just reliable, it is a strategic asset. Number 5. The Mercedes-Benz W123 with the OM617 5-cylinder diesel. This is the only engine on this list that was not built in Australia or exclusively for Australia. But it was sold here in meaningful numbers, and the ones that remain are now approaching collector status for a reason that has nothing to do with aesthetics. The OM617 earned the nickname the Million Mile Engine 2 decades before YouTube existed. In the 1970s and 1980s, Mercedes was not building cars to a price point. It was building them to a reputation. The OM617 is a cast-iron 5-cylinder with mechanical injection, no ECU, no sensors, no wiring harnesses that degrade over 30 years. The fuel pump is gear-driven. The timing chain is a duplex chain designed to last the life of the engine. The pistons have oil squirters underneath them to manage heat. Every single material choice was made by engineers who were told to build the best engine on Earth. Cost be damned. The result is an engine that has been documented crossing 1.6 million kilometres in taxi fleets in Morocco, in Greek islands, in the Australian outback. These are not museum pieces. They have been worked. The OM617 will run on diesel of any quality, and in a pinch, it will run on filtered vegetable oil. That is not a joke. That is a mechanically injected diesel engine from an era when fuel quality varied wildly across the world, and Mercedes engineered for the worst-case scenario. In Australia, the W123 sedans and wagons with the OM617 are rare but not impossible to find. If you own one, you already know what you have. If you're looking, expect to pay more than you think for a clean example, and understand that the premium is not for the paint. It is for an engine that was over-engineered by a company that no longer exists in the same form, in an era that is never coming back. Before we get to number 4, quick favour. If this is helping you understand what makes an engine truly durable, tap like and subscribe. Number 4. The Holden Commodore with the Ecotec 3.8-litre V6. In December 2024, country music singer Paul Costa clocked 1 million kilometres on his Holden Commodore wagon, a vehicle he had owned for more than 2 decades, touring Australia year after year. Original engine, no rebuild, and here is the detail that tells you everything. He was not trying to prove a point. He was just driving to the next gig. The Ecotec 3.8, officially the L36, is an all-iron, pushrod, overhead valve V6 adapted from a Buick design that General Motors had been refining since the 1960s. By the time Holden started putting it in Commodores in 1995, the fundamental architecture was already 30 years old. That sounds like a criticism. It is not. A 30-year-old engine design has had 30 years of failure modes identified, redesigned, and eliminated. The Ecotec is not efficient by modern standards. It is not powerful, about 147 kilowatts in the VY series, but it is under stress to the point of absurdity. The cast iron block can handle boost levels that would split an alloy block in half, which is why the supercharged L67 version became the foundation of an entire Australian modification subculture. The pushrod valve train has fewer moving parts than a DOHC setup. Fewer parts means fewer failure points. It is that simple. The weak spot on the Ecotec is the inlet manifold gaskets on early VT and VX models, and the crank angle sensor can fail without warning. Both are known problems with known fixes. Fix them once, and the engine underneath will run until the odometer stops counting. The forums at Just Commodores are filled with owners reporting 400,000, 500,000 kilometres and asking what maintenance they should do next, not what they should be worried about. If you own a clean VY or VZ Commodore with the 3.8 Ecotec, do not sell it to the first person who offers you $3,000. What you have is one of the last all-iron pushrod V6 engines ever fitted to an Australian family car. The world has moved on to turbocharged 1.5 litre 3 cylinders with wet timing belts. Hold on to what you have. Number 3, the Toyota Land Cruiser 100 series with the 1HD FTE 4.2 litre turbo diesel inline-six. The 1HD FTE is nicknamed the million-kilometre engine in the outback and the mining sector, and here's what separates that claim from marketing. It is not based on Toyota's advertising, it is based on fleet maintenance records. Mining companies in Western Australia do not retire 100 series Land Cruisers because the engine fails. They retire them because the chassis rusts out or the interior is destroyed by red dust, and the engine is still pulling strong. The 1HD FTE was the final evolution of Toyota's HD diesel family, with electronic control replacing the mechanical pump of the earlier 1HD FT. It produced 151 kilowatts and 430 newton meters, modest numbers in 2026, but delivered with a smoothness and a torque curve that made the 100 series feel unstoppable. And here is the engineering detail that matters. The 1HD FTE uses a gear-driven camshaft. No timing belt, no timing chain to stretch. Gears. The camshaft is driven by gears that will literally never need replacement. The aftermarket support for the 1HD FTE is now so deep that HD Automotive in Australia offers complete tuning packages for engines with over 400,000 kilometres. They test the oil pressure, they check the compression, and if the numbers are good, and they usually are, they tune it. On an engine that has already done 400,000 kilometres, that is not confidence, that is certainty. A clean 100 series with the 1HD FTE now costs more, with 350,000 kilometres on the odometer, than a brand new mid-spec RAV4 hybrid. Let that sink in. The market is pricing these at a premium that reflects exactly what they are. The last of the gear-driven, over-engineered Toyota diesels before the emissions regulations forced common rail, high-pressure, EGR-choked successors that are not in the same conversation when it comes to longevity. If you own one, do not sell it. If you inherit one, do not sell it. There is not another engine like it coming out of Japan, not with gears, not with iron, not with a 25-year reputation, built entirely on not braking. Number 2, the Nissan Patrol with the TD42 4.2 litre inline-six diesel. The TD42 is not the most refined diesel ever built. It is not the most powerful. It is not the quietest. It is none of those things. But there are TD42 Patrols on Australian roads with over 900,000 kilometres on the original engine, and that is a number you do not reach by accident. You reach it by building an engine with a cast iron block, a cast iron head, gear-driven camshaft, mechanical injection, and exactly zero components that were designed to a cost target rather than a durability target. The TD42 was built from 1988 to 2006, an 18-year production run, which in automotive terms is almost unheard of. Nissan kept building it because the market kept demanding it. The GQ and GU Patrols with the TD42 were the vehicle of choice for outback tour operators, mining companies, and anyone who needed to cross a continent without a support vehicle. The mechanical injection meant no ECU, no sensors to fail, no limp mode triggered by a bad earth somewhere in the wiring loom. Just diesel, compression, and a fuel pump that could be rebuilt with hand tools. The aftermarket turbocharging industry built around the TD42 is now so extensive that companies like G-Turbo in Australia exist almost exclusively to supply bolt-on turbo kits for an engine that went out of production 20 years ago. A stock TD42 makes about 85 kilowatts, naturally aspirated, and 114 with the factory turbo. A G-turbo equipped TD42 with supporting mods can make 200 kilowatts at the wheels on an engine with nearly 1 million kilometres of development history behind it. That is not tuning. That is standing on the shoulders of a giant. The TD42 has known issues. The cooling system needs attention, the factory radiator is marginal in Australian conditions, and overheating is the one thing that will kill one. The early silver top versions had weaker pistons than the later blacktop, but these are known, documented, solvable. Fix them. And the engine underneath is one of the most durable internal combustion engines ever fitted to a passenger vehicle anywhere in the world. Not just in Australia, anywhere. Number one, the Ford Falcon with the Barra 4.0-litre inline-six. In the mid-1990s, Ford Australia's engineering team in Geelong was given a brief that sounds almost absurd in hindsight: design an inline-six engine that could replace the ancient 4.0-litre OHC6 that had been in Falcons since 1988, meet tightening emission standards, and survive the brutal thermal cycling of Australian summer towing conditions without warping a head or spinning a bearing. What they built was the Barra, a cast-iron block, alloy crossflow head, dual overhead cam, inline-six, with a factory bottom end capable of handling more than double its rated power without failure. The Barra was introduced in the BA Falcon in 2002, and within 5 years the Australian modification industry had figured out what Ford had accidentally created: a factory engine that could take 500 kilowatts at the wheels on stock internals. Stock internals, not forged pistons, not aftermarket rods. The factory rotating assembly in the base model naturally aspirated engine could handle boost pressures that would ventilate the block on engines costing 4 times as much, but the Barra is not on this list because of what it can do at 30 pounds of boost. It is on this list because of what it does at zero boost, at highway speeds for decade after decade. The Barra 4.0 in naturally aspirated form, 182 kilowatts in the BF, 195 in the FG, is an engine that is barely breathing at 100 kilometres an hour. The stroke is long, the piston speeds are low, the rod ratio is conservative, and the result is an engine that wears so slowly that 400,000 kilometre examples routinely show compression numbers within 5% of the factory specification. In stock form, a maintained Barra will go 400,000 kilometres without opening the long block. That is documented. That is not forum speculation. The Barra was built in Australia by Australian engineers for Australian conditions. So here is what connects all 8 of these engines. They are all cast iron. They are all understressed relative to their design limits. None of them were built to a price. They were built to a standard. And every single one of them comes from an era when manufacturers were more afraid of warranty claims than they were of missing a quarterly profit target. That era is over. What is being built now? The 1.5-litre turbo 3 cylinders, the wet belt engines, the engines with cylinder deactivation and stop-start and ZW8 oil that is basically water, is not designed for 1 million kilometres. It is designed to survive the lease period. That is the math. And the math has changed. If you own one of these 8 cars, do not sell it. Do not trade it. Do not let someone offer you market value for an engine that the market has not yet learned to price. Because what you have under the bonnet is a piece of engineering that will not be made again. Not here. Not anywhere. If you got something out of this, hit subscribe. Thank you for watching.